Welcome back everyone to another video. So recently I have been rewatching the Harry Potter franchise, and I thought, because I've never done a ranking of all of the movies on here, so I thought I would go ahead and do that for you guys. So real quick before we get into it, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button so you guys can stay up to date with all of my latest Harry Potter and other movie content as well. And alright, let's jump into our ranking. So coming in last place, we have The Deathly Hallows Part 1. It isn't necessarily a bad movie, but the things that it's doing is just setting up for the finale. And my favorite parts of it is definitely, like, you know, when they come to pick up Harry from the Dursleys, and I love the sequence of, like, him and Hagrid in the little, like, I don't know what it's like a motorcycle with a little, like, cab thing next to it. I love that, like, them in, like, the tunnel and all of that. That's just a really fun sequence that I remember in that. I love all the, like, little nicks and knacks of them figuring out the Horcruxes. The most boring part of the movie for me is the little part of, like, them camping. I like when they go, you know, to Dodric, where Harry was born. But overall, it just kind of feels a little weaker compared to the rest of the movies. And that's expected, you know, considering it is part 1. So that is why it comes in as my last place. And coming in at number 7, we have The Sorcerer's Stone. Now, I know I might get a lot of hate for this, and it's a great way to start off the series of Harry Potter, but with also starting it off, that means everything starting off. So their abilities in magic, just everything. So the villain can't be someone too powerful yet. And yes, it's Voldemort, but he's only living on Professor Quirrell's head, and it's just, I like the movie for what it is, but if you compare it to, like, the big stuff that they get into later, I mean, it is just, it's not even in comparison. The one thing I do like about this movie a lot is the Quidditch fight. I love the Quidditch fight sequences from this movie and Chamber of Secrets. They were fantastic. I do wish they had maybe, I know they do have them more in, like, the later films, but I wish they had more like a main Quidditch match in every Harry Potter movie, because I love those sequences. So that is why this movie comes in at number 7. And coming in at number 6, we have The Chamber of Secrets. I used to love this movie when I was a kid. When I first watched the Harry Potter movies for the first time ever, I thought that this was, like, the best Harry Potter movie. And rewatching it again, it's the longest Harry Potter movie to date. And it's not that it's necessarily a bad movie, there's just parts of it that feel like it's dragging on. One of those parts is, like, the Polyjuice potion part with Draco, and that part drags on for me because it's like they set up this whole elaborate plan to go after Draco, and he's not even, like, at all related. And it's just kind of like, I know they did it for the purpose of, like, knowing, but it just does not, it gets a little boring at some parts. But the parts, of course, that are really good is, like, you know, when he actually goes into the chamber. One of my favorites is when Tom Riddle shows him that, you know, what happened in the diary, him framing Hagrid. This movie, the ending also makes me cry a lot when Hagrid comes through, you know, through the Great Hall, and he, you know, they say the line, "There's no Hogwarts without you," and I almost cry every single time. So that is why the Chamber of Secrets comes in as my number 6. And coming in at number 5, I have Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I absolutely love this movie. There are some bad parts to it, as in the whole plot revolves around, you know, wow, I can't even think of her name. I'm just drawing a blank here, but you guys know who I'm talking about. Wow, it's really gonna bother me. You guys can feel free to comment down below what her name is. But you guys, I can't even think of it right now. But anyway, she's a great, like, I guess you could say, like, side villain to this movie. And she just, I love the theme that they go with. Like, you know, I love Dumbledore's army and Sirius coming into it, and then Sirius dies at the end, spoiler alert. And I just love the whole Order of the Phoenix situation. I love the team. I love how Harry's training everybody. I love the room of requirements. I love that sequence when they're all training and then like Draco and they're all trying to get in, and it's just, I love that so much. And this is one of my favorite sequences in the Harry Potter franchise. So that is why Order of the Phoenix comes in as my number 5. And coming in at my number 4 spot, we have The Goblet of Fire. This is one of those movies that is, I love it because it's so different from the rest of the movies. There's not some big, elaborate, like deep. It's the Triwizard Tournament is what's the big need of this, and it's very it's interesting because we get to see not just what's going on inside of Hogwarts, but what's going inside of the wizarding world. We get to see, the Balboa Academy and then Crumb and all of his guys, and just mixing it with Hogwarts. And I just love the theme that goes on in this movie. One of my favorite things about this movie is that this is just like the weird transition from the old movies into the new ones, if it makes sense. Obviously, it's like the halfway point. And I just think that's a lot of fun. I love the challenges. Probably by far my favorite challenge in this whole movie is the underwater one with the egg and the I just love the clue, like the build up to it, Cedric, gives him the clue about the egg because he gave him the one about the dragons, and overall it's a really good film, and that is why it comes in as my number 4. And coming in at my number 3, which is very surprising, is The Half-Blood Prince. When I was younger, I probably would have put this movie maybe like second to last. And rewatching it now, I absolutely love this movie. Bringing in Professor Slughorn and having him see Harry as, the old, maybe like the new version of Voldemort, because they're like connected. And then the whole time, I completely forgot who the Half-Blood Prince was. Here I was thinking it was Voldemort, because we know that, Voldemort's parents, one of them was a Muggle, half-blood, and for some reason, it still surprised me that Snape was the Half-Blood Prince, and then, this is where they start the Horcrux hunt, and we find out about Snape. Snape kills Dumbledore, and just all of that stuff, and we actually get to see a lot of Draco's character here, which I love, because I love Draco Malfoy and his family. I love that whole side of the wizarding world. And also we get to see a lot more of Hermione and Ron's relationship here. Well, kind of, if you know what I mean. When Ron starts dating the girl that's like obsessed with him. And so, overall, it's just a really good film, and sets up the Deathly Hallows perfectly. So that's why it comes in as my 3rd favorite Harry Potter movie. And as my runner-up, I have the Deathly Hallows Part 2. This finale is fantastic. There's no better way they could have ended this franchise. One of my favorite things about this, and it's very specific, when they're running through like the courtyard and stuff, there's, they throw out this reference and this reference to old movies, like with the spiders coming over the hill and the giant like representing almost a troll, and then like the Dementors coming in, and they, use the Patronus charm. It's just referencing all these movies at once, and it's like, I just love that they did it in a way that wasn't like obvious, but it was cool, because if you watch the other movies, then it's a big payoff. And then of course, in this movie, Dobby dies. Well, yeah, Dobby dies actually in the first Deathly Hallows, but it's and the Horcruxes that they find in this movie are awesome. And then we get to see a moment of like maybe Draco doesn't hate Harry, at the end, and then him coming back, Neville having his moment in the glory. Just everything in this movie does such a good job, and is why it comes in as my runner-up. And as my favorite Harry Potter movie, it always has been and it always will be, The Prisoner of Azkaban. This movie is so good. For me, the reason it's the perfect Harry Potter movie, we've gotten to the point where Harry knows spells, and knows spells well enough that he can use them on a regular basis. And this is the first movie that really doesn't have anything to do with Voldemort. And it was just such a breath of fresh air to see a problem other than Voldemort in these movies. And then, even more than that, to like, you know, with Hermione's time ticking thing, and then if you go back and rewatch them, and you're like, oh wait, this lines up with this, and it's like, you're kind of like trying to keep track of the day before they go back in time, and it's like trying to line them up to see if they match, and they do, and that's what's so cool. And then, you know, having the werewolf scene with Professor Lupin, and it's all just a lot of fun. It's the most fun Harry Potter movie because they're throwing all these different things at you, you know, like Hogsmeade comes into play for the first time, and the werewolves, and just so many different things. And you know, we hear about Sirius Black, and that Harry still has a godfather that's living around. There's just so many different things that go on in this movie. You know, this is when Dumbledore, you know, is who he is for the rest of the films. Overall, it's just a really good movie, and it's like my favorite Harry. And you know, we get Buckbeak as well, so I can't even, like, there's so many different things that happen in this movie that you can't talk about. There's just so many different. It's not just the main plot anymore, and it's like a year of school. It's what Hogwarts is, and like you really get to experience that by all the different things they're throwing at you. And so that is why it is my favorite Harry Potter film. So if you guys enjoyed this ranking, leave your thoughts down below and let me know what you guys want me to rank next, whether it be, you know, a TV show series, this, that. I am going to be definitely making a theories prediction on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier soon, basically saying, like, you know, like what I wish, you know, what I hope happens, and also stay tuned for my WandaVision review that I'm going to be doing in a little bit. I just have some other videos I need to film for you guys. And with that said, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.